Hello and welcome everyone to NiteLife Exchanges, where we discuss matters of importance regarding the nightlife. And I'm going to welcome our my co-host here at NiteLife Exchanges, Mr. Tony Javed. Tony, come on. Come on.
Hey, Scott.
How you doing, Tony? It's been a little bit of a while, but we've been enjoying our summer.
Yes. Well, we better be, because we got the best weather in the country and maybe the world, even despite the red planet moment that we had.
So far, so good. I mean, I actually got to a pool yesterday, and I swam with purpose like a porpoise. So I was all over, and it was so nice to be experiencing a summer event.
That was my Sunday in the pool, so I'm here for it.
Speaking of somebody that jumps in and out of pools, all kinds of pools, has done so many things to create good.
Our very own Esther Williams, right?
Yeah, it's a crazy world, but it's a lot less crazy now that we have our friend in it, Mr. Ray Deforest.
Hello, dear.
Hello, my darlings. I'm imagining you in beautiful Speedos dolphining through a pool.
Oh, well, we didn't have Speedo, but in the day. So
maybe.
I will say I do have an Esther Williams suit that I enjoy.
If you don't mind, I'd borrow it.
It holds me in all the right places.
I happen to know that we are the same size, Ray, because you have helped me.
Hey now, that was the 70s.
Well, you have helped me on several occasions to doll up, so I appreciate that. So, Ray, it's a pleasure to have you here, NiteLife Exchanges, and we want to talk about some important stuff. And one of the things that you're doing is just so important, and that is you've done a 7-part series on the history of drag.
Yeah. With everything going on politically in our country right now, and they decided to attack drag, which is absolutely ridiculous. And quite honestly, almost every law in every state has been rescinded or changed so much that they have very little to do with drag because they're not standing up to anything. And any of the ones that did pass have been stopped by judges. So we're safe, but it's another part of history where we have had to stand tall and stand strong and make sure that our rights are not erased and that we hold on and open up more rights for us. And especially as artists, because it's not just about drag, it's about all art. I mean,
it's free speech.
Free speech. And in my series, the reason I did this series was because we wanted to show that drag has been an important part of the artist's journey since the beginning of time.
So we're going to show a promo, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some of this history.
Okay. I love a good promo.
The expert.
Here we go.
Sit back and relax, kiddies, because the library is open. Yes. We live in a very crazy world, a mixed up world right now. There's lots of stuff going on in our world here in the United States with states creating laws, and it's becoming very difficult. And so I'm here to remind you and show you how drag has been an important part of history since the beginning of time. I mean, let's not forget, darlings, we're born naked and all the rest is drag, or so they say. Now, in the context of performance and art and entertainment, well, drag has always been there. It's a form of self-expression, it's magical, and it's fun. So let's start with our learning.
I love the library, and it reminds me of a little game we used to play in our youth called Clue. I see Dorothea in the library with a wrench. No
I
games
kind of see
here.
her with a platform stiletto. I think that's the way to go, right?
They didn't have that in the original game, Tony.
Truth.
Oh, so
I
there.
made my own piece out of
Ah,
a Barbie shoe.
One can only imagine what you did with your Monopoly pieces, Ray. So,
Oh, you don't want to know.
Ray, tell us a little bit about Arcadis. That promo was made for a company. You're presenting this information in this show. How is it getting out there? You're doing it in private events, and it's a
Yeah,
teaching
so
experience.
yeah, I've about a year and a half ago, I started doing corporate events for affinity groups. They're called within very large corporations. I worked with Quest Diagnostics to celebrate diversity with them, and then Arcadis. This is the second time I've done one with Arcadis, where we live stream out. We had several thousand people watching from all around the world, from Australia to Germany to the US. They're an engineering and architectural firm worldwide. And the purpose is to celebrate the diversity. They're one of the top number one companies in diversity in the world. And I go to a studio out in Southampton, and we have them come in. I interview the head of diversity. We have interviews with the CEO of the company and some of the higher up management of the company to talk about how important diversity is and what it brings to a company that opens itself up to diversity. And I just teach them and help them understand. And I do my Doris Deer stories with my family, because the reason I do Doris Deer, for those who don't know, is because my mother passed away from Alzheimer's, and to deal with it, I created this character 9 years ago at the age of 55 years old. And, I thought I would just do this one show celebrating my family who really made me who I am today, and especially my mother. And 9 years later, it's like 90% of my career. And I love doing her. And I think it's a great technique for teaching, especially for people who don't understand, especially drag, because she's, Scott, you've seen many of her shows. You guys have seen the shows. They're really family friendly. My nephews call me Auntie Doris, and
Yeah.
they're family. I don't curse. I don't talk about. She's not sexualized in any way, shape, or form. She just celebrates family and love and openness, and people really love that. And she's retro and all of that. So Arcadis did this wonderful thing, and they asked me to start it. The first half hour was an hour and a half show. The first half hour, they asked me to teach them about drag and why it's important. So I did all these segments, and then they allowed me to then take those out, chop them up, and create a 7-part series, which I'm now streaming. Each Friday, a new piece comes out. I think we're up to number 6 now. And I talk about from ancient Greece, Shakespeare, Kabuki theater, the Harlem Renaissance, modern day. We go through each kind of period of time and how drag has always been there. And if you're gonna pass a law that says you can never have drag, so what does that mean for Mrs. Doubtfire, the movie, or the Broadway musical, or Some Like It Hot, the original movie? They're Shakespearean shows have had people doing drag. It's supposedly where the word drag came from, because young boys played the women parts, and they said that they called them drags because the costumes would drag on the floor of the gowns they would wear, and they'd say, "Oh, look, there's a drag." Mm-hmm. Now, there are many stories as to how that term has been created. Right. I kind of buy into the Shakespearean one because it's an original piece very long ago, but it's been a part of the world. Kabuki theater is infamous for their beautiful artistic sense of drag, unlike what we do here in the United States. So it's been really enriching for me, because when I delve into the theory and the history, I learn myself about where I come from, and that's great.
I just have to say, Scott, just even talking about the Shakespeare, not only did the men play female roles, but even the characters in the plays, Hello, Twelfth Night. I mean, it's in our literature. They're all there's so much cross-dressing in there. So, I mean,
Well, we know the history from our own period of time. And we were, the three of us are really fortunate in that we grew up within the New York City metropolitan area,
Yeah.
which tended to be one of the last places vestiges of drag when the world shrunk on drag in the 50s and 60s. New York kept a reasonably vibrant community, though it was definitely, not out there. And then when it came time to reinvent itself, so to speak, it popped up here in New York City at the Stonewall, started acceptance of just the diversity of everybody. And the drag queens were at the forefront of all of those free speech movements since then. And so that's an incredible thing that we were close enough to that. And we saw it within our own community, and we saw it live. So now we are, Ray, you had a good season there with Gay Pride Month. You were out there, you did shows, you were available for, yeah, exactly. And so was so many. So I'm just curious, talking about periods of time that were tough and that we've experienced. So we're getting back into that modus where we have to fight back and push and make sure that these things don't happen to shrink us again and put us back in the proverbial closet.
Yeah, it's really an important part of LGBT history and artist and theater history. One of the most amazing things I found out, there was a very famous drag queen in vaudeville time called Etienne Atinge, I think his name was. He was hugely famous. He was one of the most famous drag queens to ever exist. And in fact, he had his own Broadway theater named after him. And that Broadway theater is now the AMC movie theater on 42nd Street. And that theater, when you go into that movie theater here in New York City, if you look up in that lobby, parts of that original theater all still exist. And in fact, the theater still exists behind the movie theater. It's not open. It's been sitting there for a very long time. And that theater was actually named after him. And when AMC bought that building, they put it up on stilts and rollers, rolled it down the block to where it is now, and dropped it.
And saved it.
It's an amazing piece of history, and it exists. If you look in the lobby, there are actually friezes with his picture in it in the lobby. It's a really amazing, and it's a very important part of our artistry history, our theatrical history, our social history. I mean, drag queens have been around for a long time, and for politicians to then suddenly try to, let's face it, it's a diversion about keeping kids safe when the real thing that they should be talking about is guns. Whether you believe in people should own a gun or not, automatic weapons and everything else. I mean, we have more people dying. No one has ever died from going to a drag queen show unless they got so excited. Maybe they had a heart attack because they're so breathtakingly beautiful and talented. But kids are not dying from seeing a drag queen. It's just a diversion.
And the only grooming I see is just making sure that everything is nice and tight. That's where
that's right, baby.
You know what I mean? It's like come on.
It hasn't. It's definitely changed. It's given all people, younger people, an opportunity to really find what they want to do and be free to get to where they want to be. And it's definitely zhuzhed everything up. Everybody's looking pretty good from what I can see.
It's just a form of expression, and
expression.
When I started doing it 9 years ago to celebrate my mother passing from Alzheimer's, and my family who loved me and supported me, starting from when I came out at the age of 16 in 1974, I decided to do it because I wrote a show about celebrating my mom to sort of deal with the loss of her due to Alzheimer's, because she was so important to me. And it didn't work. I felt like some old queen talking about his mother on stage, which seemed kind of pathetic in a way for me. It just didn't ring in because I'm a storyteller. And my partner said, you should do it in drag. And I thought, what? I had done drag for raising funds for GMHC and all the nonprofits here and theater nonprofits in the city, but it wasn't really a a thing for me. But the minute I decided to create that character, and she is just a character to me, the minute I did that, it opened up the storytelling and the way I could
Right.
perform and tell stories in a way I had never done before. And as you know, Scott, I mean, you've seen my shows, you've followed this the past 9 years. It's been simply amazing journey for me. And as I tell people all the time, I'm never more authentic on stage as an actor than when I'm Doris Deer.
Yeah.
What a wonderful, we talk about expression, that it is expression, but you were able to tell such a personal story as to how you specifically found a way to express, the fact that it wasn't working and the fact that this unlocked a tribute to your mother. I mean,
yeah.
And there's
family
Doris,
much?
by the way, right on your left over there, on looking over your shoulder. And there she is. And Taffy was the thing is that we've all gotten to know your mom from the character, and you got real lucky, my friend. You had an incredible, both parents, both mom and dad.
Yeah, Taffy and Duke. I mean, when you have names like that and you grow up in Staten Island, it writes itself, doesn't it?
It does.
Come on. I mean,
Staten Island not being necessarily one of the easiest places of the 5 boroughs to grow up, but you know what? You cut a swath through there, and you moved out, and this little bit of life from that we see through Doris was idyllic. And then we know it wasn't perfect, but
yeah, it was.
we're
I
close.
mean, look, we were hardworking. I grew up in a very hardworking middle class family when the middle class actually sort of existed. And I'm really proud of my upbringing. I am a huge part of my upbringing. And, Staten Island is probably the most conservative of the 5 boroughs here in New York City. But very exciting for me. It's what a great lead in. I have been invited back to Staten Island to perform as Doris I've never performed ever at Staten Island. And I've been invited back to perform at the St. George Theater. As a kid, I went to the St. George Theater. My friend and I from high school, we took our bicycles, drove from one end of the island to the other to see The Exorcist at the St. George Theater, which Friedkin just passed away, the director, which is so great, right? We saw
props to Friedkin.
Yeah,
It's
and the
an
St.
incredible
George
theater. It's a
beautiful
wonderful theater. It's a crown jewel, actually.
A local family bought it and they restored it, and it's being restored again. So to keep things going there, downstairs they have something called the V Lounge Cabaret Series. It started in late July, and it runs through November. And they've invited me to come back and do a show that I'm very excited about on October 14th at 7 o'clock and 9:30. 2 shows downstairs. They have a beautiful lounge that they put a stage on and a sound system and lights. And I'm also there. I'm also judging a drag contest there on September 14th. I'm the star judge. They're doing a big drag contest in Staten Island, so I'm kind of proud of Staten Island. And
I love it.
yeah,
and I'm going to be on that ferry. I'm taking the boat out there. I'm going to go right to the front of it, and I'm going to take a position similar to the one Washington took crossing the Delaware. I want to try and bring a few others over there to see what's going on and see Doris.
I'm gonna be more Streisand on the ferry. I'll be more like with my rose.
As you should.
Tony, Ray, the information for the show is up on your website?
Yeah, you can go to my website. There it is, right down there. DorisDeer.com. I mean, all of my information there. I have a calendar right on the front page. You just click on events, it'll scroll you down to the calendar, and you can see everything I've got coming up. I've got those 2. I've also got a Sondheim show that I did to great acclaim up in Seatown at the Cabaret Festival. I'm bringing that to the Triad on September 22nd at 7 o'clock. At my home here in New York City is at the Triad. They're my family. They've really taken care of me. And of course, I have my big 2-night Christmas show with great guests. We're writing it now. It's going to be amazing. December 15th and 16th at the Triad. And all that information is on the website.
And that's a yearly show at the Triad for Christmas, every year.
Yeah, this is our 8th one. I think 7th or 8th one. It's really, I love that. It People always tell me they leave just totally feeling like it truly is the holidays, because we really do celebrate family. I celebrate my artist friends who come in, and I'm so honored that they want to come on my stage and sing. We have, some of the best performers in cabaret and Broadway and jazz. And last year we had someone from the Metropolitan Opera. I mean, it blows
Beautiful.
my mind that they want to come and sing with me and tell stories. It's
You
great.
create an amazing place for people to enjoy, to join you. They feel like they're welcome on the stage. It's all there. And then when you're doing your shows at home, you do your interview, you're making beverages for people, special concoctions. So
Well,
Mixing is
got
caring.
it all going on, Ray.
Well, I found out early on that if I get them a little drunk, they talk a little freer.
Classic Cabaret 101. Get a drink or two in them. 2-drink minimum. So listen,
Yeah.
we're going to roll, but I want to just let everybody know if you look, it's really super important. You must know the history. Ray knows this better than most and puts it out there during certain periods of time. I think during Gay Pride Month, you actually are putting up posts, constantly reminding people of the history and the details and the names of, and all of that stuff is so important. One place that you're going to get an education and refresh what you may think you know already is to go and watch the history of drag, one of the episodes as they go. And Tony, what's the location where people can watch those episodes?
On your socials, right?
Yeah, so you can go to my socials. You can follow me on Instagram and YouTube. On YouTube is where I bring out a new episode every Friday. And if you want to go on my website, you can join my email list. I don't flood your email box, but every week I send out a blast that has a link to that video that comes up. And you can follow me that way. And it's great. Thank you.
We loved having you come on and fill
do.
us in on what's coming up. And again,
Thanks.
I will be on that ferry that day on, would you say it's October 14th?
Yes.
That's out
That
in
is
Staten
right.
Island. So all of our Staten Island fans and New Yorkers, if you haven't been out to the St. George Theater, that really it's worth the experience, and you'll see a great show and
It's
really
beautiful.
enjoy yourself.
And by the way, I found a song about Staten Island. There was actually a song written about Staten Island. So
All right.
I'll be singing about my hometown.
Can't wait to hear it. So Ray, listen, enjoy the rest of your day there. And thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. It's great to see you guys. Bye, everyone.
Great to see you.
Bye.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye.